What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Thanks for clicking on my video. Today we're fixing a lawnmower. Can you see it? There it is. Nailed the intro. What we have here, good old Craftsman something or other with a Briggs & Stratton. It's either 16 horse or 21 horse, not real sure. And I wasn't going to record any of this because it's, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things that I assume people know how to do, but you know, I assume wrong a lot. So I figured I'd do a little recording. So the symptoms of this lawnmower is it'll fire up and run on choke. Runs great. No weird sounds, no smoking. I mean, it shoots some black out of it, which is, you know, unburnt fuel. So obviously it's getting too much fuel because it'll, you know, but it's on choke, so it's gonna get a lot of fuel. But as soon as you move the throttle out of choke, unless you go all the way back to like the lowest setting, it dies. I mean, it'll run for a little bit at the lowest setting, but then it dies. It's flooding. Took the carburetor out of it. Sorry, took the spark plug out. Spark plug's wet. And from the get, I was telling myself, I was like, this thing's out of time. It's got a timing issue. It's nothing else. The carburetor's fine. This is fine. That's fine. Everything is fine. It's got to be a timing issue. It just has to be. I've convinced myself that it was a timing issue, which I don't really like to do because then you overlook stuff. When you convince yourself that it's one thing and you're not 100% sure, you overlook other things. So, but that's what I did. It's a mistake I made. But I'm right. It is a timing issue. And here's how I know. What I've done, well, obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff missing off the front of it. And this is not, so y'all know, this is not my lawnmower. It's a buddy of mine, his mower. He's not the most mechanically inclined person, and he doesn't have all the time in the world to kind of mess with stuff like this. So what I did here, now this engine's rebuilt. Has a new piston, new rings, everything is new. New bearings, new rod, bunch of new stuff. And it was put back together, and it ran, right? Then he said he was mowing and he hit something in the grass and it kind of stalled out a little bit and then it didn't want to run anymore. Wouldn't run right no more. And I was telling myself, I was like, it's a timing problem. So what I did was I popped the top off here. There's a little grate here. This guy sits over it. And then you got the crank bolt. Holds the flywheel to the crank. And you can see in here, this is one spot for the keyway. This over here is another one. Up there you can kind of see in the top left corner of the screen, get a light. So you can see up there, kind of on the left side, there's one keyway spot, and then bottom left, there's another spot for a key. And they're off of each other, and there's no key in there. This flywheel acts as the, like, what's that thing that spins around inside the rotor? Is that it, the rotor? On a gas engine that tells the spark plugs when to fire. That's essentially what that is. There's a spot here. So this is okay, I don't know the best way to explain it, but this is hooked to the spark plug. So this is like your coil, I guess. It runs on this, on your flywheel, runs around right here. And then on the flywheel here, you can see there's a spot with these two lines. That is where the spark plug fires. When this lines up with this, can I turn it over there? Wrong compression stroke. So when these two items line up like this, like that, that's when it fires. Okay. Well, if this key isn't here on your crank and all that, it's going to fire at the wrong time. And because of that, this thing's about 20 degrees out of timing. So what we're gonna do, pull the flywheel off, put it where it's supposed to be, put a new key in it. Now, this is a Briggs & Stratton engine, which I wasn't even aware that Craftsman used Briggs & Stratton until this thing. I've never had the money to afford a fancy ride-on lawnmower, nor enough money to afford a lawn that needs a riding mower. Anyway, Briggs & Stratton engine. I went to 4 different places. My Sears that was nearby, it's closed, so couldn't go there. They shut down. Go to the Home Depot, can't find anybody with enough competence to tell me, you know, where that would even be. Go to Lowe's. This guy says, yeah, we might have some keys over there on that side of the store. So I went to Hubbard's and I said, hey, I got this. And the guy said, hey, I don't have that part in stock, but here's the same size, it's just longer. So we're gonna use that. So I went down and I rented timing gear puller. Looks like it should work. Hopefully. The bolts fit. Freaking bolts don't fit. Yes, they do. Woo! For those of you who may not know how a timing gear puller works, you have these two bolts go in the timing gear, or the flywheel, or whatever you want to call it. I always call it a flywheel. These two bolts go in there. I always screw these all the way down. Everybody tells me I don't have to, but I do it anyway, because that makes most sense to me. And then you have this. Dang it. So this spans between the two bolts. So there's two threaded holes in the top of the timing gear. Okay, see them down there at the bottom of the bolts. Okay, put the bolts in the holes, and then you have this T-bar looking thing that goes across the two, right? Now, the biggest thing about any type of puller, and I mean any type of puller, is when you're using them, it's most likely not going to just pop off whatever piece you're trying to use. So you can't, my advice is to not just rip as much pressure on there as possible. What I like to use this little, you know, electric driver, a little electric impact. Nothing crazy, nothing big. But it, along with the pressure that it is putting on the flywheel, along with that, it's also making like a vibration motion, or not motion, but it's making a vibration down into the flywheel itself. So instead of having to beat on the flywheel, you just give it a few little snaps. You just give it a few little snaps with the impact, and it'll kind of rattle it off there. So, because usually what I've always done in the past is I put the puller on, and then I'll tighten it down with just a regular wrench. Then I'll kind of tap on whatever I'm trying to pull with a you know, a hammer, steel hammer, whatever, just to create a little bit of shock. But in this case, because I have the driver, the impact driver, I'm hoping, it's worked in the past, that it is enough to just kind of rattle it all loose for me. Now, I'm not saying to put your big old air impact on here and just squeeze away at the trigger and, you know, hold her wide. Just give her little tappy tap. That's all. The bolt here is a super fine thread. So you can see, I mean, it's loose. It's already off. It's already off. So that being such a fine thread, you're gonna be really hard pressed to strip those threads off. The thing that you're most likely gonna do is jack the threads on these bolts if you go too ham with this thing. Moment of truth. take it out of the garage. So there's the part where I told you guys this engine had been rebuilt. New rod, new piston, new rings, new everything. Well, process of elimination, I found that sheared keyway and said, hey, there's a problem. Y'all heard it, fired up, run, did good. Kind of a weird, kind of rough running, you know, kind of freaked me out. So I shut her down, wasn't smoking, sounded like it was running good. So I took it out of choke and it kept running, but it revved all the way at like the lowest idle setting. It revved. I reached for the key, and as I'm reaching for the key, y'all heard it. It happened. Yeah. It's a crank in there. You're not supposed to be able to see that. So now I have to call my buddy, tell him that his engine's junk. I don't know, man. I don't know that I really want to, like, if it's my fault, I'll take the blame. No big deal. I'll even replace the engine for him. But this thing, the fact that it had been worked on previous to me, you know, I don't know, man. I'm gonna drain the oil out of this thing, pull it apart, and see if I can figure out why this thing went like this. You know, see if the timing gears are wrong, or I don't know. Just see what I can see. Go from there. Well, I'm a greasy, oily mess. Not good. Not good at all, guys. We have officially had our first official catastrophic failure on the channel. Looking through this thing, I don't know what went on it. It came apart. This thing didn't have a chance. I mean, I really didn't think that this was gonna happen. And I thought to myself, oh, I'll just put that keyway in there and it'll be fine. I knew I shouldn't have done that. I should have tore it all the way down, made sure that the crank and the cam were timed properly, then put the keyway in it, because with that keyway jumping, you know, like that, maybe the cam jumped too, maybe it didn't, maybe I don't know, but I tore it down here. It's bad. So here's the crank journal. You can see in there, it's I don't know if that's previous damage or if that happened in the fall or what, but it's obviously it was hot, you know, so that could have been it, man. Maybe there wasn't enough oil in it, but it should have started knocking first. Never knocked. Cam's fine. Cam made it through. It appears. Doesn't look like that's too worse for wear. But the case, yeah, the case has new ventilation in it. The rod didn't fare any better either. So there's another piece of the rod. I don't know, man. It's rough when it's your first one. This is the first engine that I've ever had explode while I was working on it. I've never had an engine go catastrophic failure before. So, and the fact that it's not my engine is kind of, that sucks too. You know, I was trying to help a buddy out, fix his lawnmower for him, and kaboom, she went. I don't have a clue why it happened. I don't have a clue. You know, I fired it up on choke. You guys seen, fired it up on choke, and it fired up, sounded like it was gonna run great, but it, for some reason, it sounded like it was full bore. So I shut it off, thought, I'll push it out of the garage and whatever. So I push it out of the garage, crank it back up, and I'm like, that's on choke. You know, it'll run high on choke. Put it down into the lowest setting possible, and boom! You've seen it. You want to see it again? Yeah, so I don't know, man. You win some, you lose some. So I don't know, I guess, I don't know what he's gonna want to do, if he's gonna want to get a new engine, or if he's gonna want to get, it's a whole new lawnmower. Sucks. Anyway, that's that. Kind of a sad video for me, at least. I was confident too. I was like, oh yeah, jump time, no worries. Pop that, you know, this, that, zip, zap. Done with it. Not how she went out. So anyway, thank y'all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Here for the first time, hit that subscribe button. See y'all in the next one.